Hey Mordred, watch your streams and like it, but since you work for E4, why do you stream more Hearts of Iron than E4 lately? Because I work with E4 and I'm kind of tired of seeing it all the time. No, there should be more E4 coming next week, because I would like to revisit Ambanar. I think it's mostly just the fact I've played so much EU4 over the years, and I'm working on it on a day-to-day basis. I just prefer doing other things. Like, it's funny, Paradox actually gave me the opportunity, like, do I want to do Hearts of Iron or do I want to be EU4 Community Ambassador? I was like, EU4. Definitely EU4. Okay, the votes are in, and the Federationalists lost with 21% of the vote. Then we had the Maximists coming in with 38% of the vote, meaning that the Autonomists actually won. Layer 8 issue contributed 50 bits. Thank you very much for that, Layer 8. And then Artos came in with 37,000 channel points for the Autonomists. Alright, let's bring in some local TUCs for the local nations. Capitalist economies collapse. Over the past few days, the workers and peasants of the world have watched as the bankers, the capitalists, the tyrants scrabble to reap the benefits of the workers' labour for their own selfish gain. They call it Black Monday, a terrible event, they say. They say that such a collapse was completely uncalled for, something no economist could have predicted. Of course, the workers are no fools. The people see through their lies. As the great philosopher Karl Marx predicted, such collapses are an inevitable result of capitalism. As the capitalist abuses and reaps the benefit of the workers, they begin to eat themselves alive like rabid dogs. All this as they leave their workers to struggle and die by the waste as they scrabble for the last piece of meat. Our nation, however, has decoupled itself from the capitalist world and has begun the construction of a true people state. Therefore, we remain unaffected and can only watch the nations of the world are eaten alive by the capitalist overlords. This is a great awakening for the peasants and the workers of the world, and soon the workers of these nations will begin to organise against their oppressors. We must stand by and stand tall as a true example for the workers of the world. Workers of the world, unite! Military policy. The debate has wandered into the area of military affairs. As has been predicted, every faction has put forward their own suggestions. The debate is heated since the last few days have only too clearly shown the deep rift within the TUC. So we're going to go with the Maximists. The military must be expanded and the local militias placed under TUC control. The Federationalists, the army must be expanded, but only in self-defence. Or the Autonomists, an English, Scottish and Welsh national army. So which way are we going to go this time? Are we going to go with the Maximists and their centralised military? Are we going to go with the Federationalists with their somewhat expanded but mostly defensive force? Or the Autonomists, where each of the home countries gets their entire full force? Get your votes in. Vote, vote, vote. The Maximists, the Federationalists, or the Autonomists. And while that is happening, Lun, thank you very much for the follow. Welcome to the channel. Sindrin sent in some bits. I'm guessing there was something attached. When the RAF comes over, the Germans duck. When the Luftwaffe comes over, the Brits duck. When the US Air Force comes over, everyone ducks. Oh, that's good. And Xanthar came in with a 21-month resubscription. Thank you very much for that, Xanthar. Carriers are heavy cruisers. I really want carriers to be good, but I feel like I'm deluding myself, especially with the UAB. Haven't decided. We'll need to make a decision about what naval doctrine we're going to go for. Regardless, we're going to be upgrading the destroyers, as that is a fairly standard and pretty important first step. Okay, so the votes are almost in. And it is the Federationalists who have lost with 14% of the vote. Then the Autonomists came in a rather more distant second place with 31% of the vote, meaning the Maximists came in first with 55%. And Tiladus contributed 15,000 channel points. Thank you very much for that. So here we go, Maximists. The Austrian Empire withdraws from Italy. It is clear that Black Monday has hit the Austrian Empire hard. The Austro-Hungarian Reichskriegsminister today announced he was recalling divisions stationed in Italian territory, unable to afford the financial burden of keeping them safe from the Socialist Republic of Italy. For good or ill, the Italian Republic is now effectively independent of Austrian domination, at least until the Austrians regain their full strength and decide whether or not the interests of the Italian peninsula are worth regaining. Here we go. League of Eight Provinces now at war with the Left Komandang. One of our submarines was finished. Good, good, good. And we are still losing oil, which means we are still training stuff. Anqing declared war on Nanjing. And on that terrible day, Philip Snowden also resigned. On the last day of the TUC Congress, Chairman Philip Snowden climbed up the podium and made a speech. He claimed that in the face of massive rifts within the TUC and due to his age, he intends to resign his post immediately and have an interim committee take his place until the final ballot are cast. He also pulled out the cliché time with the family bit that all politicians do. The congregation stood silent as he climbed down from the podium and made his way out of the hall. The country is shocked, and in a few days' time the TUC will have to vote on a new chairman. Shocking, to say the least. Marshal Wu Faifu backs Anqing. Following the death of Marshal Sun Chunfang earlier this year and the subsequent collapse of the Qing authority, few expected the Imperial Minister of the Army, Wu Faifu, the real power behind the throne in Beijing, to take overt military action. Yet this morning, he and the Assembly President Cao Kun announced their formal support to the provincial government of Anhui, led by Chen Taoyong. Wu and Cao have long chafed under the German oversight placed on their government in 1927, and their support to the Governor Chen telegraphed to the world they are casting off this German influence. Here we go. Intensify Scottish drilling. Requires excavation 3. Numerous oil deposits in the federal territory of Scotland. With new advances in excavational technology, we should attempt to make full use of these, which gives more Lothian and Lanark oil. Our geologists have found a number of promising resource deposits within our territories. We can expand some capital to develop these fields. Advances in extraction technology might make some deposits viable for exploitation. Arson at RAF Penrhos. The Republican Air Force base at Penrhos was burned down last night in what seemed like a random arson attack. However, this morning the three culprits, Saunders Lewis, Lewis Valentine and DJ Williams, turned themselves in at the Pwllheli police station. In an eloquent defence, Saunders Lewis referred to the construction of the airbase at such a historical cultural monument a crime against Wales, and that this was simply an act of downtrodden people lashing out. The Maximists of the TUC have called for the alleged ringleader Williams to be executed and his co-conspirators imprisoned. In a more calm tone, the Federationists have called for the three men to be arrested, and finally the Autonomists and the Congregationalists have called for them to be acquitted. So, life imprisonment for the lot of them, a short stint in prison should have set these men right, or Iglesias is right. Let them walk free. No, Paul. Which crime are we going to life in prison? Are we going to short stint in prison? Or are we going to set them free? Be nice if I could spell prison right, not prison. There we go. This is going to be another 1 minute vote. Get your votes in. Which path are we going to take? Vote, vote, vote. Remember, you have to vote in the actual vote thing. Typing numbers doesn't work. Get your votes in. Vote, vote, vote. Which one should we go for? It's actually a really close vote. Blimey. Interesting. Every vote counts. So get your votes in. Vote, vote, vote. Oh, jeez, this is so close. And we have a... Oh, man, last second overtook. Literal last second. So, in last place, the short prison sentence. So nobody here is a moderate, with only 15% of the vote. And then it was 42% against 43%. And it was set them free, which was leading the entire time. until the last second when life in prison overtook them with the 43 to the 42. So life imprisonment is what they are going to get. Sindrin contributed 20,000 channel points. Thank you very much for that, Sindrin. So they are going to prison for life, which loses even more stability. Alright then. The Welsh aren't demons, why do they speak in tongues? I haven't heard that before. Restoration of democracy in Australasia. The Australasian Confederation has been under the authoritarian rule of Governor-General William Birdwood since the British invocation of the emergency protocols in 1924, considered by many in the nation to have been a heavy-handed response to the Melbourne Commune syndicalist uprising. Birdwood finally relented to calls for an open election, leading to the surprise result of Earl Page's Country Party achieving a minority government in the Canberra Parliament. Interesting. And Shandong just declared war as well. So, League of Eight Provinces is dead because they're fighting a three-front war now. Chairman election. The Maximists secure the majority. The TUC has decided to vote for Oswald Mosley's Maximists with an overwhelming majority. Oswald Mosley will become the new chairman of the TUC. The death of Pius XI. All of Christendom mourns for the death of His Holiness Pope Pius XI, who died following a heart attack after having been in declining health for the past several years, something which rapidly worsened following Black Monday. The Holy Father will soon be interred with the rest of his predecessors in the tomb of the popes. Until the next pope can be chosen, the Papal States will be ruled by the College of Cardinals in Rome. And there we go. The Congress is done. And we now need to choose the Central Intelligence Committee, which will increase the popularity of totalism, which should also increase stability. Wait, the Federationists have the majority. By 10%. So how did Mosley win? Mosley cheating as usual. You click the Mosley options more times. Yeah, I guess that, but the fact is said they won with a clear majority when they clearly don't have a clear majority has me a little bit suspicious. However, we can increase the popularity of totalism twice. Or we can start down the British rail reform, which will allow us to actually start industrialising that much quicker. Although we have a fair bit of infrastructure still to build. Then again, getting the industry earlier is just better. I don't remember if there's any negative events in this for bad stability. We're going to go with the Common Land. While Britain was the birthplace of the Industrial Revolution, much of our nation remained rural and reliant on agriculture. To facilitate increased crop yields, all land seized from the noble estates during the Revolution should be parcelled to rural syndicates. Britain's land shall now belong to her people alone. Monthly population plus 50% and also 20% more factories. Oof. That's a nice focus. And we're down to just 2 more submarines to finish. Cool. Oswald Mosley elected chairman of the TUC. In 1936, the Trade Union Congress of the Union of Britain was made out to be decisive. Long-time chairman of the TUC, Philip Snowden, declared his resignation, causing the 4 major factions of the Union, the Maximists, the Autonomists, the Federationalists and the Congregationalists, to butt heads over the position. As the dust settled, Oswald Mosley, leader of the Maximists and a totalist ideologue, has been appointed as the new chairman. Mosley's faction supports a strong central government and full state control of the economy, and are much more in favour of military action and British nationalism than any other faction. Left Kuomintang declared Wananqing. Delegates from the socialist nations and political movements from around the world gathered in Paris today for the latest in a series of world congresses. While the mantle of the Third Internationale has taken up by the communards after the Russian Civil War, the ideological tenor of the event promises to be very different, with syndicalist parties being the newly dominant force on the far left. Delegates were greeted by a military parade, an exhibition of avant-garde art, and finally a speech by the chairman of the CSP. At the top of the agenda is the spread of revolution to Asia and North America, ongoing conflict in Spain, policy on colonialism, and the requirements for membership of the Third Internationale's military alliance. The clear majority, 100% of all dead Englishmen, voted for Mosley. Pius XII elected as the new Pope. Catholic faithful in Rome breathed a sigh of relief as the Sistine Chapel's chimney billowed forth white smoke, signifying the election of a new Pope. A short time later it was announced that his pious and popular Eugenio Cardiel Pacicelli had become His Holiness Pope Pius XII, leader of the Catholic Church and head of the State of the Papal States. The Third Internationale. France has gone through with its designs to hold the first Congress of the Third Internationale, and we, as expected, have received an invitation. It would be foolish not to send a delegation. So which of the popes was this? The usual. All of the delegates have arrived. Heads of the Socialist, Syndicalist and Bolshevik parties, heads of state and governments, foreign ministers and journalists have all arrived in Paris for the opening of the first Congress of the Third Internationale. It is time to open the doors and take the stage. The first Congress of the Third Internationale is hereby opened. Now that everyone is assembled and the Congress has begun, it is time to take the stage of the open discussion. The Prime Minister took the stage first and discussed the purpose of the Third Internationale. After the purpose of the Third Internationale is made more clear, the discussion will begin. I did look at my options, although... Oh, that's a national spirit. Interesting. Oh, because there's no political advisors anymore. Huh, okay. Joaquin Ascau Budria has taken the stage and elaborated the position of the CNTFAI in Spain for the Congress. The CNTFAI is the largest syndicalist party in Spain, made up of the anarcho-syndicalists, moderate syndicalists and trade unionists. The Spanish revolutionaries have seen a white terror, violent counter-revolutionary actions against the workers firsthand. They have come asking for support for their cause with the moment comes. The French pledged their support and ask all other members to do the same. Sure. Actually, before I do that, I want to take a very quick look at what my military is like. Am I still running with NATO counters? I am. Turn those off. There we go, they're back to normal. So we have cavalry, we have tanks, we have marines, and then we have what I assume are all just regular old infantry. They are template. 18 combat with engineers and artillery. And you could all do some training. John Jack Reed and the combined syndicates. The American journalist, poet and syndicalist activist John Jack Reed spoke to the Congress for an hour and 15 minutes about the crisis facing the United States and the chance for a revolution in the Western Hemisphere. Following the footsteps of Benjamin Franklin, Mr. Reed laid out the situation in America very clearly. In the South, the America First Committee is stronger than the central government, and the North is suffering from a depression, and the West Coast prospers. This economic imbalance has caused massive unemployment along the Great Lakes, and the people are ready for radical change. Unemployment and radicalism in Latin America. The Latin American countries were the hardest hit by all of the stock market crash in Berlin, and there's been a great awakening amongst the people. Socialist and syndicalist parties grow larger by the day, paired with the unemployment. We should decide our policy in Latin America, where the left-wing radicalism is ripening. Departure of the Revolutionary Latvian Legion. At the end of the Great War, the Latvians, following the Russian comrades, rose up in revolution, creating the Iskolat Republic. It was, unfortunately, short-lived, destroyed by German arms, and though many Latvians served in the Bolshevik government, their comrades in Petrograd were defeated as well. Their exiles escaped to the west, where socialist-leaning Latvian communities had already been firmly established and accepted them with open arms. The United Kingdom was one of these places, and when Britain collapsed into revolution as well, these Latvians enthusiastically supported it. The Latvian Social Democracy, once a sister party of the Bolsheviks, was re-established and participated in elections in the Trade Union Congress. Now they are led by Jeps Petrus. Petrus, possibly the man who was the legendary Peter the Painter, leader of the Latvian anarchists in the Battle of Sydney Street in 1911, was a natural fit to lead the Latvian exiles in England. He was deeply ingrained in the British society and had contacts with the socialist movement. Even his comrades in Russia remarked that he spoke with an Englishman's accent. During the intervening years, he assembled the Revolutionary Latvian Legion, a small regiment of trained Latvian exiles, ready to return home to instigate a revolution. Now, when the United Baltic Duchy is collapsing, he has found his chance. With a brief yet heartfelt goodbye, Peters offered his goodbye to his English wife, his friends, and made a last speech before the Trade Union Congress, where he assured the Union, the rest of the Third International, that he shall return a leader of the Second Islakat Republic. Good luck, comrade! Wonder how well the Latvian syndicalists did in the UOB elections. I don't know, it's a good question. Ever since I watched your Black Eye series, I've been playing with the NATO symbols and I'm looking to join the RAAF. Makes life easier if you know what the icons are in military life. Yeah, absolutely. And it's just a good skill to have if you can recognise what they mean. Because they come up surprisingly frequently, actually. Like looking at old American Civil War maps, they all use those same... Well, not necessarily old ones, but like American Civil War maps. Movement of different units. You're like, oh, that's an infantry division. It's got the giant X through it. The women's role in the worldwide revolution. Yesterday, Helen Crawford took the stage with her flaming speech about the women's role in the world revolution. According to her arguments, without women's participation in industry and the armed forces, it may be impossible to defeat the many enemies of the proletariat. Tempting as it may seem, the political climate in Britain is not ready for such a decision. We need to wait for the Congress of the Trade Unions to fall in the fall to force the matter. So it be then. And in fact, we just got 50% stability, so we're good. Comrade Sail Mohammed wants to speak. Comrade Sail Mohammed, a prominent Algerian socialist, was allowed to speak before the assembled Congress. He has given a rousing speech on the situation in Morocco and French Africa, where the Arab labour is abused and exploited for the benefit of the wealthy and colonial establishment. Sail urged the Congress to put an immediate stop to the situation. He proposed the creation of a socialist anti-colonial committee who will work to supply local syndicalist anti-colonial conspirators in North Africa. We'll gladly support the creation of the committee. Anqing took 5 states, Left Komindang took 2, Nanjing have been annexed. We heard Joaquin Ascaso Budria speak of the White Terror's horror stories that have been coming out of Madrid and Barcelona, and Kurt Eisner, Bavarian socialist, wanted to delve deeper into the topic of the White Terror, then he was given the floor. After hearing more stories that came out of Germany, Austria, Hungary, Russia and Finland, the Congress members are ready to make their decisions. Another reason we must end this capitalist system of murder and robbery. The Buryatia Commune asks for support. The Buryatia Commune asked for the support in their struggle against its neighbours, the Dominion of India and the Princely Federation. They would like us to send military advisors to train the leaders and aid their troops. Are we going to send troops to the Buryatia Commune? Bearing in mind that we are the maximalists, and they do tend to be rather more interventionist than the others. So what shall we do? Shall we send those advisors or... Nah. Get your votes in. Vote, vote, vote. What do you think we should do? So get your votes in. Vote, vote, vote. Should we help out in Buryatia? Being British and not getting involved in India? Preposterous. They control Assam. That means they have the tea. We can't be British if we don't have tea. Love to see the effects before you vote. I'm sure you would. That's why I'm not showing you. Okay, so here are the results. Nah gives 16% of the vote, so overwhelmingly defeated by Send the Advisors with 84%. So we're going to send those advisors. Dominion of India and Princely Federation dislike us, but it does cost us some political power. The world economic crisis and the role of the Third Internationale. The stage has been set for the revolution to begin. With the Berlin stock market crash, mass unemployment has arisen in Europe, and South America and the trade unions begun to grow as a result. It's an opportunity. The Cambridge Conference. Along with the politicians in London, a separate meeting of scientists from France and Britain took place in the old university in Cambridge. It was decided that the syndicalist countries should combine their research in order to develop weapons capable of protecting the revolution from the increasingly aggressive imperialist threat. Knowledge is power. Study hard and be evil. Anqing declared war on Shandong. The first Congress of the Third Internationale has come to a close and the agenda has been met. And there we go, common land is done, so now we do the central industry research. So that we can get the factory output going. We also get a research bonus for industry. That's in 42 days. That completes in 46. That's a little bit annoying, because I was thinking of doing my usual trick, where we get the 37 technology with a normal cost, and then we jump ahead to the 39 with the 75% off. Especially because 75% off is a lot. I would really like that. Oh, except there are two 100% here. Never mind. To prepare our syndicalist industry for the fight against the capitalists, we should establish the Department for Central Industry Research. This office will help us overcome inefficiency. Can we help out the left KMT? I totally forgot that volunteers were a thing, and yes, we absolutely can. We probably should. Okay. Are we in a position where we could do more marine size? Try and get the marines up to 20 combat width. We're also at some point going to need to make a decision about which doctrine we're going to go with. You who is harp on the tournament players for not sending volunteers. Yeah, I know. Send a tank. I'm not sending a tank to a mountain war. That's a very bad idea. I'm saving the tank for Spain. I think that this is just going to be infantry. I mean, we could send the marines. They are more expensive. They'd be good against crossing rivers, but until we get up here, there aren't that many rivers, and by then we would probably be the largest. If it was fighting down here, I would think more about that. No, I think we're just going to send infantry. Okay, so send volunteers. We can send one volunteer. So let's send you. And then there's Afghanistan versus India. Komandang have said yes. So now we need to set up the air wing. Why can't I set up the air wing? Ah, here we go. I can send up to 20 planes. And this is probably going to be close air support. Which is what... No, these are fighters. Those are Cass. Okay, then next up we're going to do some research, which is going to be to start on some of these 37 technologies. I'm going to go concentrated. Machine tools?